Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 28th annual Happy Holidays, Laramie. We're so excited that you're here with us. You can jump on at any point. You can jump off at any point. We are live streaming via YouTube and everything will be recorded. My name is Katie Christensen. I'm the Curator of Education and Statewide Engagement here at the Art Museum. And this has taken a whole team of faculty and staff for the Art Museum to put this together this year. Many of you know that our Happy Holidays event is a community favorite in Laramie. It brings in over 2,000 people to the Art Museum in the Centennial Complex in a number of 3 days. So for the health and well-being of our community, we decided that this year we would do a virtual Happy Holidays for the first time ever, which of course, many of you know this has been a really challenging year, so we had to kind of get creative and some fun new twists. So there are going to be some new things that happen this year. But before we go into the details, I just want to acknowledge that here in Laramie on the University of Wyoming campus, we collectively acknowledge that our campus occupies the ancestral and traditional lands of Cheyenne, Arapaho, Crow, and Shoshone indigenous peoples, along with other native tribes who call the Great Basin and Rocky Mountain region home. We recognize and support and advocate alongside Indigenous individuals and communities who still live here now and those who were forcibly removed from their homelands. So this year's theme of Happy Holidays is Global Holidays, and we really wanted to celebrate and honor the cross-cultural traditions and the diversity within our local community in our state and beyond. So holidays mean a lot of different things for different people. Some people celebrate Christmas, some Hanukkah, some winter solstice. Today, throughout our webinar, we'd love for you to be interacting through the chat. So I want folks who are on our webinar to take a few minutes, and if you're with your family at home, have a conversation with each other, and then in the chat, type in what global holiday means to you, or some of the things you might think of. I've got some folks on the webinar with me. Rachel Cook, our academic curator, she can pop on her video and say hello. Hi, Rachel, thanks for being here. We've got Jennifer Smith, our master teacher. She can pop on her video and say hello. Hi, Jen. And Michelle Visser, our teen coordinator. She can pop on her video and say hello as well. Hi, Michelle. So as you guys are taking just a moment to think through, I'm going to invite Jennifer, Rachel, and Michelle to also use the comments and maybe just type a few things about what global holiday means to you, or perhaps a tradition that you celebrate in your family. So as you all are typing and thinking into the chat, I want to talk a little bit more about our rundown for today. So in addition to kind of some of the conversation we'll be having in the chat, there's going to be artwork from Albany County schools, including the rural schools like Centennial and Rock River. So thank you so much to all of the teachers and students who supported work, submitted work. Thank you to Rachel Cook, who put that into a presentation for us. In the background of those presentations, you'll hear music from all over the globe. So do listen and look for some of those things. We've kind of folded in one of our Family Saturday events for today as well. So Jen and Michelle are going to be guiding an activity during portions of today. If you were able to come to the museum and pick up an art activity kit, awesome. Pick that out and grab it with you. If you weren't, we posted on our Facebook page items that you'll need, and we'll get that posted in the chat today as well. And you can make art along with Jen. The idea is that she's going to introduce the art making activity, and then we'll go off screen and play some of the art galleries from the students across Albany County, as well as from some of the performances that are happening. Performances were submitted on a first come, first served basis. So we have folks from the String Academy of Wyoming, as well as APL Piano Studio, and then a dance rendition from Dance Studio B here in Laramie. So those are going to be kind of streaming throughout, and then we'll pop in and do a little bit more of the family art making activities. Many of you are familiar with previous Happy Holidays where we auctioned off trees. Because of the safety of our community, we decided to switch that up a little bit this year, and we are doing homemade ornaments. The live auction is closing today, actually. So you can bid on any of those auctions on our Facebook page. I'm posting the link to the ornament auction in the chat. And do check those out. There's some really great ornaments available that were donated by school groups, artists, local businesses, including nonprofits like the Laramie Fiber Guild. All the benefits or all the proceeds from that go to the Art Museum education funds, and we're splitting those this year with Albany County School District art education programs as well. So those benefit students right here in our local community. We do have one tree available. So in our rotunda, you're welcome to come view the president's tree that was submitted or donated and decorated by the office of the president. And Thursday night, we had a live stream of President Seidel lighting that Christmas tree. The Christmas tree will be on view until December 18th. So you're welcome to come through the museum during any of our open hours until December 18th and take photographs of that. Our open hours are Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. So come and check out the beautifully decorated tree. If you missed the live stream for Thursday's lighting of the tree ceremony, you can see that on our YouTube and Facebook pages as well. So never fear, if you missed it, you can watch it again later. The last thing that I will say before we dive into our program for tonight is that I hear that we may have a really special guest at about 2:45 today, and I've been texting the North Pole to see if Santa Claus could take a break and come and wish everyone a happy holidays. So I'm going to keep you posted throughout today if Santa's able to come. He said he was going to try. So be sure to tune in throughout and see if Santa's coming. And we're going to try for 2:45 today. So we'll keep you posted both when we come back live and in the chats today. As I was talking, it was great to see a lot of the folks putting things in the chat, and I just want to read a few of them. A family tradition we have is gifting one ornament to a family member each year. Jen has been, our master teacher, has been receiving an ornament every year since the year she was born. That's awesome, and I hope you put them on your tree. Michelle Visser says, a tradition of gathering together around a meal and a game, going for walks outside under the stars afterwards. Leanne Hilgert says, we celebrate Advent and Christmas, and that means happiness. I love that. So throughout the program, if you're having conversations with your family and you want to post something in the chat, that's the best way to interact with us. And we definitely encourage you all to do that. So without further ado, I would love to welcome Jennifer Smith, our master teacher. She's going to guide us in some looking and some discussing and then an art making activity. So Jen, please welcome back to the screen.
Hi, everyone. I am so excited, as Katie said, that we're able to still host our Happy Holidays event, albeit virtually, but the upside is that we get to share this event with family members and friends that might not actually be in Laramie. I am going to be walking us through some deep looking, and then we will be doing some making. If you did not get an opportunity to get a kit, fear not, there might be some extras left in our camp crate outside. You are welcome to come at any time and grab those. If you do not live in Laramie and you've not been able to get a kit, just know that I've created some alternatives that we can use, some common household materials to still be able to make our art today. Michelle is going to be helping kind of field some questions and some responses in the chat box, and I'm going to encourage you to participate via the chat so that we can still create kind of a collaborative community atmosphere. So as Katie said, our event is all about global holidays. And we heard some traditions shared in the chat box, but I want to know from you all, and particularly those kiddos that might be out there, what are some of the global holidays that you know are being celebrated between this time span of the end of November or middle of November all the way until January? What are some of these global holidays that you know about that are being celebrated? And you can put your answers in the chat box. Kwanzaa. Kwanzaa starts on December 26th, and that is a African holiday. What else is celebrated? As you were thinking and coming up with some ideas, today is actually one of my favorite holidays. Today is Sinterklaas, and that is a holiday that is celebrated in the Netherlands as well as in Belgium. And today is their day that Santa Claus, or their version of Santa Claus, shows up. And he actually is going around today, and then tonight he will be placing some goodies in some little kids' shoes. And tomorrow morning when they wake up, they hopefully will have little paper noten, which are small ginger snaps, sometimes little mandarin oranges, a chocolate letter that is the first letter of their first name, and usually family members write some little poems about each other that are usually somewhat sarcastic, and they can kind of dig a little bit, but in a loving way. I actually received news that Santa Claus is dropping something off at my house today from the Netherlands. He did not forget me. And I hopefully will also have some paper noten to be able to eat and share with my friends here at the museum. In the Netherlands, Sinterklaas actually comes from Spain, and he travels on steamboat. So it's kind of interesting to see how different countries and different cultures have different ways of celebrating. Not all of them have to do with Santa Claus or the concept of Santa Claus. To me, this time of year is a time of year in which there's a lot of joy, there's a lot of celebrating, and hopefully there's a lot of light. And sometimes we have to manifest our own type of light because it gets so dark at this time of year. And so, with that being said, I'm going to share some pieces from our museum collection. I selected 2 for us to look at today. And the first part of our making is that we have to kind of take in some of this artwork to get some good ideas. And so here at the museum, we really love to encourage object-based learning. And of course, we would love for you to be able to see these pieces in person, but we're going to show them to you virtually today. So for you to be able to participate in deep looking, you're going to need to have a comfy spot. You're going to need some paper, a pencil, or some coloring materials. I have both paper, a Sharpie, and some colored pencils here next to me that I'm going to be using for my deep looking. When we look deeply, we're really thinking about taking time to observe the details within a picture. And so some of this might feel really slow to you. And I want to encourage you that that is okay. We use 3 different prompts here at the museum to help us look a little bit closer at some art pieces. The first one is, what do we see? The second one is, what do we think? And then the third one is, what do we wonder? What do we have questions about in regards to the artwork? As I pull up these pictures, does anyone have a guess as to how long someone normally spends looking at a piece of artwork? And you can put your answers in the chat box. One says 5 minutes. Michelle says 1 minute. Leanne says 1 or 2 minutes. Anyone have any other guesses? The average amount of time that a person actually spends looking at a piece of artwork is only 7 seconds, 7 to 10 seconds. That is not even enough time to really fully blink. That is crazy. So we're gonna really try to encourage ourselves to sit and look for closer to 2 to 5 minutes. And so for this first piece, can everybody see it? Michelle, are you able to see this picture?
Yep, I sure can.
Okay, awesome. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take our paper and our coloring materials, and I want to encourage you to just look at this picture and see and record all of the different colors. I'm going to put myself on mute for just a few minutes while I look and observe. Share and talk to your family members as you try to capture all of these colors. Sometimes it's hard to sit in silence, but I noticed my eyes starting to move a bit more, and I don't want to stop you, but I wanted to show you how many different colors I saw in this picture. And I'm curious what colors you saw. Maybe you can enter some of the colors or color names in the chat box. Some colors that I was surprised to see as I looked closer and closer was almost like this turquoisey jade green color. And I see Michelle nodding her head. The more that I looked, the more that I realized it's everywhere. Michelle, what's another color you saw?
I was just thinking about how to type this, but one thing I noticed, the longer I looked, the more names of colors I was stringing together for lack of a single word to describe it. But something I wanted to point out is I was seeing bluish, reddish, brown, which is the shadow or the shading on the lamp post on the left-hand side. I just kept noticing the more that I would look at colors, I would see layers of coloring from the artist trying to create shading and highlights.
Awesome. What are our friends saying in the chat box?
I'm seeing that Katie's saying, are there lights under the bushes? They look like they're glowing. I wonder if anybody else sees what Katie is seeing there. I would also say that Rachel is saying that there are light blues and burnt orange. Janet is noticing that there is copper. And I'm loving some of these words that people are using. Katie also said she sees pomegranate.
Ooh, I love that association with the time of year because pomegranates are such a special fruit to get to eat.
Yeah.
I'm going to use my cursor here and hopefully everyone can see the bushes that Katie was referring to are right over here on the left-hand side of the picture plane, right about 3/4 up past the pond. And so Katie brought us into our second question, which is, if you remember correctly, is to think. What do you think is happening in this picture? And maybe it's, what do you think about this picture? Do you personally like it? Are you intrigued by it? Is it not your preference? That's okay too. Share what you think about it with your family members, and then maybe consider adding some of those I thinks into our chat box so that we can share as a community. An example of something that I think is that the longer I look, and my eye is really drawn towards this figure in the center, as well as this really tall and large lamppost here on the left. If I look down at the figure's feet, I can see these kind of wispy white strokes, and they move across the picture plane from right here all the way over to the left, and they start to get bigger and more grandiose. And that makes me think that it must be maybe kind of windy. Additionally, this figure, I don't know if it's male or female, is kind of leaning forward as if the wind might be pushing up against them. And it makes me wonder, Being a newer resident here in Wyoming and Laramie, I wonder how many of you are familiar with that type of wind and can really think about what that might feel like to have the wind forcibly push up against your body.
Jennifer, it certainly looks like from the comments that people have had this experience of wind and cold and biting on our cheeks. So I think that there's definitely some resonance of what this picture is depicting, and people can really identify with this.
Good. So our next question in our inquiry is, what do you wonder about this piece of artwork? An example of something that I wonder is I'm starting to really wonder, the longer that I look at this piece of art, what time of day it actually is. Because I can see that the lights are glowing, but as I look towards the horizon and into the distance, the sky goes from dark as it's close to me to lighter as it goes further away. So it's making me wonder, is it nighttime yet? Or is it just starting to become night? What do you wonder?
I'm certainly noticing from the chat, Jen, that some people are very curious about why this person is alone. I actually wondered if it's possible that it's early morning also, since we don't really know which direction she is, or he. I think I want to say it's a she because of the length of the coat, but I realize that's an assumption. But I do wonder if that light is coming from a sunrise or a sunset. Janet is wondering where everyone else is at this time. Leanne is saying that she thinks it's early evening. Katie has wondered why she's alone and is suggesting that maybe she's going to a party. It does seem like the pronoun she is being used a lot, and I would wonder why we assume it's a she. And Rachel is wondering if that's an ice rink that's next to this figure.
I love how the longer we look, the more questions we come up with. And knowing that they're unanswerable allows us to experience this piece in so many ways. She is, in fact, alone as my eyes span the painting. There's not a single soul in sight. Does anyone see any other figures or creatures or animals? Have they looked really closely in the bushes and in the trees? I just wonder if there's something that I'm missing, and maybe there isn't anything.
I'm scanning, and I also wonder, is that fresh snow? Like you mentioned the wind, Jennifer, and I keep looking at that sidewalk, wondering if that's snow that this figure is walking on. Is it just after a storm that might prevent anybody else from wanting to be outside right now?
It's quite possible. I also noticed this object here if you can see my cursor, it's to the left of this first bluish green hut. And I'm really curious, and I'm wondering what this object is. To me, it almost looks like a mailbox. But then I see this area to the left of it, which to me looks like a pond. And so then it makes me wonder, where exactly is this? To me, my reference or my funds of knowledge would tell me that this is some type of park. But whereabouts? Does this look like Laramie? Does this look like Wyoming?
I wanted to just add that it looks like Leanne has commented on thinking that she might see tiny little birds in the trees. And it's interesting that she made that comment. I feel like I see one tree on the right-hand side, the dark bluish green tree. Yes, right where your cursor is. It almost looks like there was a deliberate spot of color there for a reason.
I couldn't tell if maybe it was some snow, but in my mind, I was kind of hoping that it was some kind of kitty cat hiding in the tree.
I see that Katie is wondering if that is a box, like a bird box or a bird house. So again, maybe suggesting the creating a space for an animal.
Well, I love how our brains are going. I have one other piece of art for us, and it's similar but different. And we're going to go through the same see, think, wonders to kind of get our brains moving and engaging in this art space today. When I change the slide to the next image, this time, this next picture has less color in it. So this time I want you to think of words. Maybe you are creating a list, like a shopping list, or you could think of it as an inventory. But for the first couple minutes, I want you to embrace just this idea of listing and see how many words you can come up with. Okay, are we ready? I can get kind of self-competitive. I notice as I am coming up with words, my brain is getting more and more excited to list some. I'm at about 17 words right now. And as we share our words with each other, I encourage you just to add some to your list if others mention words that you didn't think of. My mind was thinking not only of what I see, but also that it's a painting. And so paint and painting were words that I had on my list. What are some words that you have?
Jen, we have a few here in the chat that I'm happy to share with you and everyone else. I see northern lights, smoke, warm lights, night, a ladder. Leanne says cold and dark. Rachel sees trees, forest. Then Rachel clarifies and says pine trees. Katie said snowy hill, mountain. Katie's curious if maybe one of those buildings is an outhouse. Warm light, cabin. Another wonders if maybe it's a tree house. Glow from lights. Many different areas of this painting have been observed and noted in our chat box.
I just came up with even more and continued to list them, but I love how our brains now organically can transition into that next question. So again, what do you think about this painting? And then we'll ask, what do you wonder about it? What do you think is happening? Where do you think this is? Feel free to share your answers with your families or write your answers in the chat box. I have to use some of my funds of knowledge as I think about this piece. I notice my brain is trying to run through a list of areas or locations where someone might see the northern lights. Where are the northern lights visible?
Jen, we have a few people making suggestions, maybe Norway, Minnesota, Alaska, and sometimes rarely in northern Wyoming, Canada.
So out of those locations listed, if we look back to the landscape that we see in front of us at the lower portion of the artwork, where do we think the most plausible spot is that this painting could be taking place? I've never been to Alaska, but I'm wondering if it could be one of those locations or somewhere in the Pacific Northwest. I think that because of the very large conifer tree that is on the bottom right, and I'm really just using my funds of knowledge for that thought because I've lived in Oregon and I know that their Douglas fir trees are very, very, very tall, as well as other species. And it makes me kind of wonder if that might be an indicator of the location. I grew up in New England, and we have pine and conifer trees in New England, but they are not that big, especially when we look at it in proportion to that cabin. So last little bit here before we transition to watch some performances, I want you to start to think about, and again, you can jot it down on your paper, share it with your family, or feel free to share it in our chat box, what some things are that you maybe wonder about this painting. Maybe you wonder why it was painted. Maybe you wonder if it was painted for a certain person. Maybe you wonder what size it is. Whatever your questions are, record them now.
Jen, we're getting some curiosities and wonderings recorded here. I wonder who lives here. I wonder if it's today or sometime in the past. I wonder if this is depicting a real place. I wonder if it's a family inside because it looks like a playhouse on the outside. I still wonder about that little building in the front with the ladder. Why does it look so cold? I think it might be high up in the mountains. Ooh, I like what Janet is asking. I wonder if this is the artist's dream home. It would be for me in Wyoming, of course. And then Rachel is saying, I wonder what it's like to see the Northern Lights in person.
That is on my bucket list. I am so impressed with the questions that everyone came up with, and I'm so grateful that you are willing to share in this space. I'm going to pause the screen share at this moment and kind of come back to really briefly before we transition to performances. When we come back, we'll be back at 1:30 to make some art together. And when you come back, if you have your art kit, make sure you have set up a workspace for yourself and you've kind of checked out all of the goodies that are in there and in that bag. If you don't have an art kit, some things that I want you to run around your house and go find really quickly. Check your kitchen, see if you have any heavy duty aluminum foil, or check that recycling that maybe did not get picked up the week of Thanksgiving and see if you have any aluminum cans. Those both will be useful in your making today. I will see you again at 1:30. Bye.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Michelle, for facilitating some deep looking, that process of slowing down and observing, asking questions. So just a reminder and reiterating what Jen said, that's going to feed into our activity that happens at 1:30 today. Our next portion of the program, we will be viewing artwork from Vital, Harmony, Slade, and Indian Paintbrush Elementary School. Then we'll have a performance by the String Academy of Wyoming, and then followed by Snowy Range Academy, Linford, and Rock River artwork. So this is a great time to do a little dancing in your kitchen or with your family, wherever you are, and viewing some artwork. Just an update, I am still talking to Santa Claus, and it seems like he's gonna hop on with us today. We're getting closer to confirmation, so tell your friends, text your people if they're not online right now, because I think it's not confirmed, but we're so close to having Santa Claus today. So without further ado, please enjoy the artwork from Laramie Elementary Schools and a little bit of music.
I'm 11 years old. I've played piano for 2 years, and today I will be playing a traditional Christmas piece titled Deck the Halls and The Wild Horseman by Robert Schumann.
Hello, friends. Welcome back. Bravo to all those wonderful performances and the beautiful artwork. Thank you so much. We just learned that technology gremlins have struck, and I'm not quite sure what happened to our schedule because it's in the right order for us, but it was not showing the right order. So we are going to take a moment and redo the schedule. If you've just arrived, our next section of today is the activity portion of Family Saturday with Jen Smith. So I'm going to invite Jennifer back to the viewing screen, and she's going to guide you through the activity portion. So if you've got your bag ready, if you've picked it up, go ahead and bring that out. And if you had the chance to gather materials from home, go ahead and get those ready at your workstation. In the meantime, while you're working with Jen, we're going to be updating the schedule in the Zoom chat and on Facebook as well. Sincere apologies to students and families if you were here for one performance and you didn't see it yet. So hang tight with that. And just a note that we are live streaming to YouTube, which will be recorded. So if you missed anything, you can always go back and watch the replay as well. So technology gremlins are no fun. Not quite sure what happened, but we'll address that as we keep moving. Let's see, Jen, come on back to the screen. Oh, the last update that I had. I got a text message from Santa Claus, and he's going to aim to be here at about 2:45 today, unless any other technology gremlin happens. I hope not. But tell your friends, Santa should be arriving today, which is really exciting. So, Jen, are you here with us today? Come on back. All right. Thank you for being here. I'm going to hand it over to you for the art activity, and I will be posting updated schedule information in the chat.
Okay, hi everyone, welcome back. For those of you who were not here for our first session, we just did some deep looking with two pieces from our museum collection. And we're talking about all of the global holidays that are celebrated in this month and a half long span. Couple of quick things. When we were looking at some of our pieces from our collection, both of our pieces had something to do with light, and that's kind of your little clue for what we'll be making today. I am going to try to navigate several different screens with you all here. So in just a moment, I'm going to switch to my document camera so that you can see me as I'm making and you will no longer see my face. But just really quickly, those of you who are able to come to the museum and get a kit, you have several things in your kit, and right now you need to make a choice. I love choices. So in your kit, you have these long strips of foil. They are 6 inches wide by 16 inches long. This is constructed, Michelle and I cut these so that you could create some luminaries, which are types of lights. And the luminary will go around your tea light. You should have the regular candles, and then there's also a battery operated candle in your kit. Should you decide that you want to make multiple of these, you could at this moment cut them lengthwise. So using a ruler and drawing a line with Sharpie on here and cutting them lengthwise, and then you could make 2. Your other option is that in your kit, you will find a pre-made ornament. One side has some folds on it and the other side is nice and smooth. So at this moment, your choice needs to be between focusing on an ornament or focusing on a luminary. If you are not in Laramie or you are unable to get a kit, I have 2 options for you as well as far as creative problem solving goes. And what I would like to know right now in this chat box is how many of you need the alternative material choices and solutions, and if so, I will demo those now. I also have a video for you, and if I need to, I will switch to another screen to play the video as to how to prep those materials. Yep, you can type your answers in the chat. So really quickly, it is possible to use the foil from an aluminum can. So I have a LaCroix can here this morning. And with some help, kiddos, I please encourage you to ask your parents. But what you will need to do is cut off the bottom end of your can and the top so that you get this nice long strip of foil to work with. The edges of the foil are a little bit sharp. And so if you look really closely, I've folded them over just the same way that you will be folding over your foil to make your luminari. So at this moment, I'm going to switch to my other camera. Okay, here we go. Here's my work desk. And I've got it all set up with all of the tools and materials that I need. The first thing that you're gonna need to have out in front of you is your piece of felt. This piece of felt, I also have inside of it a piece of foam core that just gives it extra padding or cushion because we're gonna be using some sharp objects. And you might be asking, Jen, what are we doing? For our luminaries, our ornaments, we're doing a process called repoussé, and it means, it's a French word, and it means to push forward. And so essentially, we're going to be transferring an image onto our metal, and we're going to be scratching and pushing forward to make these raised bumps or decoration in our metal. To do this and to start, we just need to set up our space. So again, you need your felt. You need your piece of metal, whether you're doing your luminari or you're doing your ornament. You're gonna need a piece of drawing paper, a pencil. If you have the kit, you will have had a wooden dowel, much like this one. If you don't have the kit, I found this morning the tool that works really well is actually a knitting needle. Maybe don't use mom or grandma's or dad's, who knows, favorite knitting needle because it might dull it a little bit. And I have some embroidery needles. I used an X-Acto knife to cut some of the metal. Kids, please don't try that alone at home. And then I also have a ruler and some regular kitchen scissors. Really quickly, another alternative that I mentioned earlier is heavy duty aluminum foil. You can definitely make a long strip out of aluminum foil to fold it over and do the same project. This is double layered, so I folded it over twice. Greatest strength and greatest weakness is the same for aluminum foil. It is very malleable, and so therefore it's easy to work with, but it's also easy to puncture holes into. It would be a great solution for some littles. If you like what we make today, just so you know, this decorative foil you can purchase at craft stores. The quality will kind of change depending on where you buy it, but this is one tube as an example. Here at the museum, we have these large tubes that we ordered from NASCO Art Supplies. Okay, so without further ado, here's how we get started. I was thinking about this time of year, and particularly right now in our pandemic, and how, you know, my spirit could use a little bit of light and levity. And so I'm definitely going to be making a luminari. And when I think about the holidays and this time of year, for me, I always think of like a dove or a bird. And so the first step that we need to take is to do some kind of simple drawing or pattern or design on just a piece of paper. And this just can be done with pencil. And so I had traced or drawn an outline of a dove. And my next step is to kind of think about what kind of patterns or designs do I want to add into the shape of my bird. So I'm going to work a little bit as you start to draw something on your piece of paper. And again, it could be an image, it could be a pattern. If you want to use letters, the only thing that I will say to you is that we need to write them backwards, and you'll see why here in a minute, because we're going to transfer this onto our metal. So things that I'm thinking about with my luminari is that the point of the luminari is to let light through, which is a great symbol for this season, as I was saying. And I need to start to think about and consider not only what do I want to have on there as a design, and I have my dove, and I made a little kind of olive branch as a symbol for peace. And then I was thinking about stars in the night sky, and to me that's going to be an area that maybe I cut out or I poke holes into, and then these little dots will be areas that I poke too. If anyone, please don't feel like you have to rush, but if you get to a point where you are ready to kind of transfer your image onto the foil, I'm going to start to demo it, but just know that we do have a video that will be going up on YouTube that you can follow along with as well, but just so you get a basic idea. Okay, so I have my drawing ready, and I am ready to kind of transfer it over. And as I create, there are a couple considerations that I need to make. One is my foil is really long, and for this luminary to work, I could be using this candle, but I think in my head, I'm going to use this around a much larger candle that I have at home. And so I actually think that this piece of metal will be a good circumference around the candle that I'm imagining in my head that I have on my dining room table. And so if I am okay with this luminary being cylindrical, then I don't need to do much more to it other than fold the edges in. If at this point you're thinking that you might want to have it be more square, then every 4 inches, you would need to measure and mark with a Sharpie. And then the way to fold this stuff is using the edge of a ruler and folding it up on itself. And once you fold it once, it will hold the crease. Okay, so I kind of want mine to be like a long panel seam. The one thing you'll notice too is like these can be really decorative. You can even not make a luminary with it and just have it up on your mantle. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fold over these edges so that it's less sharp for me to work with. And so my first step is that I'm going to kind of miter these corners. I'm going to use regular kitchen scissors and I'm going to cut in. And just to be able to show you what I'm going to do, I'll draw it here in Sharpie and hold it up to the camera. But I just drew a little line there on the corner. And that's the cut that I'm going to make. I'm going to make this cut on all 4 corners. And again, if you're still drawing, no problem. Okay, so I've cut my mitered corners, and now, as I said, I'm going to use the edge of this metal ruler, partly because I like to have some straight lines, but it also is going to give me kind of a leverage point to be able to fold this metal over. And so I'm going to line it up. We really only need about a 1/4 inch kind of seam allowance here, and depending on how far you cut in, will probably mark how far you fold it over. And so I'm just using my fingers here. I'm going to fold it over, and then I'm going to run my finger back and over this crease several times. Once I feel like I like it, I can take the ruler out and then run back over it, and it will kind of press that foil into itself. Okay. I like to do one side and then the other, so I'm going to flip it this way and do this side. And maybe if you're making these as a family, you can delegate your tasks. You can have mom or dad do this part and you can keep drawing. Okay, and now here comes the hardest part, is this long edge. And again, this is why I like to use the ruler, especially with just one set of hands, to help me fold this over. And I'm going to fold it over in sections. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to work my way up. And then before I make the final crease, I'm going to shimmy the ruler up a little bit higher, and maybe you have a ruler at home that's longer than mine. Mine's just a traditional 12-inch. And again, once I can commit to it, then I'm going to go back over it and I'm going to press this in. I guarantee you guys this is going to be an activity that you spend a lot of time on, maybe even multiple hours, or you come back to it for multiple days until you consider it done. I sank in to making one of these this morning and was having such a good time that I think I'm just going to keep going once Happy Holidays is over. So again, I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Regardless of whether you're using the foil that we provided you with in your kits, or you're using the tin from a can, or if you're using the aluminum foil from your kitchen, the step is still the same. So it's really just the resource where you're getting the supplies or materials. If you decided to do the pie plate, you could choose to do this, or you could leave the pie plate in its form, and you'll see why in a minute. Could be fun to have something circular. Okay, so it's perfectly imperfect. I've got a little dip here, and that's okay with me. I'm going to consider this now the back side of my luminary. And these little corners, there are other ways to fold this in. For me, this is just the quickest way to do it. But I'm going to just cut these excess corners off. This is pretty thin foil, and so regular scissors work just fine. And you can cut those little extra wings off. And now this is nice and prepped and ready. Okay, so remember earlier I said to you that if you're going to put any words on your luminary or on your ornament, that you'd have to write them in the reverse. And this is because we are going to take our image that we drew and we're going to place it directly on the back side. Remember, the back side is the side with the folds, just on top of the metal like this. Okay, now if you want to creatively hack this and you don't want to have to practice writing your letters backwards, you could also run and take your paper to a window and hold it up on a window and trace it through to the other side so that you're already reversing it. Okay. Now for this next step, I am going to put two birds on here. So I'm going to repeat my drawing twice. And so instead of maybe centering it or just putting one over here, I am going to make sure that I save enough room for a second bird. And so I'm lining it up right here at the edge. And I'm pretty much ready to go, except for I moved my felt while I was drawing. And so now here's why we need this felt underneath. This is to protect the tabletop, but also to make sure that we're not pushing in so hard that we're piercing through the metal. Okay, this will be a great activity for two people to help each other with. I'm going to use my non-dominant hand, my right hand, and I'm going to put it down on the paper and I'm going to hold it in place. My dominant hand, my left hand, is going to be the one that I trace over my pencil lines. Anything that I want to save, this is a good time to edit, guys, because you can't erase after you've kind of started to scratch into your foil. So if you made some mistakes with your pencil, just don't trace over them. Moms and dads, maybe you can help your son or daughter by going over the lines that they want to keep with a colored Sharpie or a colored marker. I know what I'm going to commit to, and like I said, I really like this knitting needle, so I'm going to use it. So going over my lines that I drew, I'm going to trace back over with my knitting needle. And the amount of pressure that I'm applying is just enough to feel the metal kind of give way or allow me to kind of push a dent into it. There shouldn't be a ton of resistance. And we'll know if we're pushing down too hard if you rip the paper. It's always tricky when you're tracing like this to remember which lines you captured and which ones you didn't. So I try to go from left to right to help me remember. The other thing is you can kind of start to feel it. I'm using my right pointer finger and I can feel where I've kind of made some grooves or some indents already. Okay, I'm going to check my progress here. It looks like I got it all. So I'm going to commit to that and put my drawing over at the side. On the camera, you can already see my indents. And again, this is the back side. And this is an old process, but as I said in the beginning, what it means is that it's being pushed forward. And so right now I have just the lines. This is pretty enough as it is. However, I promise you guys, if you do this next step, it's going to be even more beautiful. So as I was drawing my bird initially, I was planning out where these stars or these dots were going to go for me to poke holes in it to let the light shine through from the candle. And I will do that. I'm going to come back to that. But right now I'm thinking about this bird and the elements of the bird that I really want to be seen. And so this is where I'm going to use that Sharpie. It's important that this is permanent marker because otherwise like a Crayola marker is just going to kind of sit like water on the surface of the metal and then it's just going to wipe away. Again, this is the back side, so double check to see where your folds are. I am going to, like for example, the leaves on my branch, I'm going to circle those with black Sharpie and I'm even going to color them in because that's reminding me that that's where I want to push in even further. I want to pop that out on the other side. And the same with these details on the wings. And don't worry so much about the Sharpie because two things will happen. One, we're going to kind of scratch it away. And two, this is on the inside, so we don't really see it. Okay, so these are the places that I'm going to start. And again, I'm going to go back to using my knitting needle here. And let me see if I can zoom in for you. So I got all of these black marks. These are the marks, as I said, I'm going to push forward. And so I'm just going to take this knitting needle and I'm going to push down and kind of scratch into the metal in these spots. And here you'll start to see that Sharpie is lifting away. I'm scratching it kind of off the surface and I'm making an indent into my foil. This is great too because it gives you a visual of the areas that you've already done. I need that. It's encouraging, keeps me going. Okay, I can also feel with my finger if I run it over how deep the relief is. The deeper the relief is, meaning the divot, then the more that it's pushed out on the other side. And so the more ornate or decorative it'll appear. I'm retracing over my branch line there. And now I can move on to my wings. Okay, so I've got one and I can see the difference. And now I'm going to scratch into this one here. After you've been doing this for a while, you might notice that your hand starts to cramp. That's a good sign. That's why I say that sometimes this could take a long time, or maybe you come back to it several days and you give yourself a break. If you're doing an ornament, this probably won't take as long because you don't have as big of a surface area. And like I said before, like if you were to add words into this, you'll notice that my bird is in the same exact direction as it was on the paper. But this is the back side, so when I flip it over, it'll be flying in the other direction. So just to check my progress, these are the areas where I have really created an indent, and you can notice the difference here from the wing over here. And light is playing a little bit of tricks on you. But I had started another one this morning of the same bird, and here is my progress, and you can see the result is really quite beautiful. The directionality of which you scratch on the back side will kind of show up as texture on the front. And so I encourage you to think about going in different directions, maybe keeping it in one direction for one area or changing it, maybe going in a circular motion. And so here on this one, I've got my tail feathers pushed out, and I've got my wings and my olive branch here. And you'll see that I went back in and I started to add some holes for my light to shine through. And again, this is my backside where my folds are. And to make these holes, I still use the Sharpie first to kind of plan it out where I wanted it. And then I used the embroidery needle. I guess I could also keep using my knitting needle. And I just gently, pushed down into it and then moved it around in a circular motion until it pushed through. On this side, these perforations feel a little bit sharp to the touch. And so one way that you can navigate that is either you can consider it a warning for little hands trying to touch the candle or get too close. Or if you want it to be a little bit more safe and user-friendly on the outside of it, then you can actually just reverse and go the opposite direction. And then try to push that metal back in. Now you could poke your hole from this direction. I just really wanted to plan mine out first before doing it. And so therefore I wanted to see what I was doing with the Sharpie first before committing to the holes, but you certainly could do it from this side and then you wouldn't even have to worry about these sharp pieces of metal. Okay, so again, I had started to transfer another bird over here on this side. And it's not done yet, and I'm gonna keep working. And here's my midway progress on the first one. When I finish this, I will probably wrap it around the candle that I have at home. And that's when you get to make a decision as to whether or not you want your edges to really connect. There are many ways that you could do that. You could fold the metal together. You could punch it and stitch it if you wanted to, or you could just let it kind of wrap around the candle itself. As far as whether or not you wanted to leave it as decoration, like I could also put this on my mantle at home just like this, wrapped in some wreaths or garlands. If you celebrate Hanukkah, maybe these become coins that you put down on the table. Or maybe they go around a menorah. In Kwanzaa, we have lots of candles as well. And so I'm gonna let you continue working on your foil. Please let me know if you have any questions in the chat box. But at this point in time, I'm gonna keep working behind the scenes and we're gonna switch back over to look at some more artwork and listen to more performances.
Thank you so much, Jen. I can't wait to see some of the luminaries that are being made or the ornaments that are being made right now as we speak. So we hope that you'll continue making those, and as things play, you can kind of look and work at the same time. The next piece of performance that we're going to have is the String Academy of Wyoming. That's going to be followed by another section of art exhibitions. Those schools will be vital harmony, Slade, and Indian paintbrush. That will be followed by a performance with Dance Studio B. And then I have wonderful confirmation that the man himself, Santa Claus, will be joining us just before we wrap up today. If you were here or missed performances earlier, we did have technology gremlins, so thanks for your patience with that. If one of your students is not in the groups that I just mentioned, you can go to our YouTube channel where we're streaming live and watch those there instead of on the webinar today. Everything's being recorded, so if you've missed anything, you can also share the links with friends and family later as well. If you have any questions, feel free to chat with me in the chat box as well. But without further ado, we're going to dive right into the String Academy of Wyoming. Bravo, all of the dancers, the musicians, the artists. Yes, clap, clap, clap. Smiley faces with hearts. I'm reading the chat box in our webinar today. I'd love to welcome back Jennifer Smith, our master teacher, Miss Michelle Visser, our teen coordinator. And if Rachel Cook wants to come back on the screen, go ahead and turn your videos on, my friends. Rachel's got a great hat on. Awesome. Jen, do you want to share the luminary that you've been working on and maybe talk a little bit about how folks might share their beautiful works today?
Sure. So folks, I have to just laugh at myself because I wanted to really model what it would look like to add some letters in there. And I missed my own advice in turning the J around backwards, but fear ye not. I pressed the foil back out and then reverted my J in the correct direction. So accidents happen, guys. So it's fine. I continued to do my other bird. And for this one, it's a little bit hard to see, but I added a heart in its mouth. And I poked more holes in because I'm thinking about that luminary and the point of it showing light through. And I've just been playing around with molding it in my hands to make it more cylindrical. It's not going to be perfect, and that is okay, but I think I'm done with mine. And I'm excited to bring it home and light it up with a candle inside of it and see what kind of patterns it makes or what kind of shadows kind of dance on my walls in my living room with all the other lights off. And so I'm going to go home later this evening and I'm going to take a picture of it. And I am going to post it to our Facebook page. So likewise, you are welcome to post these images and share them to our Art Museum Facebook page. You can also email them to me, either by emailing them to jennifer.smith@uwyo.edu or to uwarted@uwyo.edu. And Michelle just put that in the chat for you. The other thing I wanted to let you know is that if you didn't get a chance to finish or even start your making today, there will be some demo videos on YouTube later that we will share the links with, and they'll be connected to this Happy Holidays event so that you'll be able to go back and review. As I was making these, it occurred to me another great thing that you can make with these is you can make gift tags out of these. They really are so versatile. And it could be, even if it's not for the current holidays, it could be for holidays later in the year. I don't know. I had a lot of fun doing this. I haven't done it in a really long time. And so I hope you all enjoyed it as well. And we are really excited to see what you've made. So we hope that you share some images with us.
Awesome, thanks, Jen. Now I'll just invite Michelle or Rachel, if you have anything, any feedback to share or anything to say, hand it over to you.
I'll just jump in because I noticed today watching all of this young talent that we have here in Laramie, that we were playing piano or dancing. I just was really grateful to be able to have this creative opportunity to still share in sort of the holiday celebration that has always kicked off the way that we celebrate our December holidays. And so I just want to say thank you for the effort it took for everybody who created videos to share with this virtual Happy Holidays.
Absolutely agree with that for sure. Rachel?
I just wanted to reiterate thanks and appreciation to those who submitted artwork and submitted videos. I know it's a lot different. We're in a different world at the moment. And I'm just happy that folks participated. Thank you for hanging out with us this afternoon. And I hope that you all have a wonderful holiday season.
Awesome. Huge thank you to all of the team here at the Art Museum. We couldn't do this as individuals. It really does take our whole staff to pull this off, from our preparators who help with the president's tree and make beautiful ornaments, to our whole education team. Um, all of our curators, everybody. It really does take all of us. And then of course, like Michelle said, the incredible talent in our community, from the students to the teachers, all the practice that goes in. And I think the arts are really about resilience. And these have been challenging times. And I think I learned that lesson through the arts over and over and over again, that we are resilient humans as a species. And through the arts, we can really unite together and support each other. And it brought so much joy to me to be able to see all of that work. And even though it wasn't the real thing, it was nice to be able to kind of celebrate in this virtual way with everybody. So thanks for making it a part of this December. I am texting Santa Claus. I hear he's still coming. So if you are interested, we still have some time to bid on ornaments. It's true. I've been texting the North Pole, and I think, oh my gosh, you guys, I think he's ready. Hang on just a second. Let me see. I think Santa's in the audience. Let me see if I can get him over on the side where you can actually see him. Hang on just a second, my friends. Santa, are you here? Let me see. Can you turn your video on?
I am here. Hold on one second. I'm trying to get a couple things going here.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay, we're almost there.
This is like a super special treat, my friends. I know, Santa, that you've been so busy at the North Pole, and I'm sure you're working extra hard, like all of our amazing students and artists and musicians and dancers. So we appreciate the time.
Oh, my pleasure. I couldn't imagine missing out on this.
We're so glad you're here. Good deal. So, boys and girls, friends, family, if you have a special request for Santa, maybe you could type it in the chat and we'll see if he might send it your way when it comes time for Christmas.
There we go.
Santa!
Oh, how's everybody doing?
Thank you for being here.
Oh, my pleasure.
So we are celebrating the global holidays, Santa, this year, and we just watched amazing artwork and performances of videos and piano and strings. It was just amazing. Do you have any messages for our friends and family watching today?
Oh, enjoy the holiday season. It's been a tough one, but you know what? We're here at Santa's Workshop. We're going to make sure everyone gets a good Christmas, and it's going to be a great time here at the North Pole.
Awesome.
North Pole.
Awesome.
We're so fun. We're so glad that we're going to be able to make this Christmas happen. The elves are working extra hard. We're manning our shifts on the email and the letters this year. So with our visits being limited, we're going to make sure that we get all the requests processed from all the boys and girls all over the world so that we can make this the best Christmas ever.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. We just appreciate you taking the time today. And thank you to all the boys and girls who made art and shared things with us. My friends, if you have any requests for Santa, go ahead and put them in the chat. Otherwise, we just want to say a big, big thank you for all the folks who made this possible, for participating and contributing in the arts in our community. They really do benefit the collective of all of us, from our social to our psychological well-being. And really just a happy holidays from the University of Wyoming Art Museum to you and all of your family and friends. Take good care. Thank you so much, everyone. If you'd like to watch the live stream, you can do so on our YouTube channel. There's a few folks saying Merry Christmas to you, Santa. I think Santa's going to be chatting back to some folks. So the rest of our time together is going to be Santa chatting away. So we'll hang out just a little bit longer, my friends, probably for the next 5 or 10 minutes. Anyone has questions for Santa, you can either type in the chat or type in the Q&A.
Oh, I just heard from Caroline.
I bet Caroline's
What
probably been naughty or nice. I don't know. What do you think? I think she's been nice.
We're on the nice side right now.
Good
Yes.
deal.
We got lots of good girls and boys this year.
It's been a hard time, but you know what? I know lots of great kids that have done great work in challenging times.
Yes, this has been a challenging times, but one of the greatest times, because we see all the good in people right now.
That is so true, Santa. Thank you for reminding me of that.
Lots of good in people, and there are a lot of good things happening out there, and a lot of hardworking people to make things better. And we need to remember that. We have lots of things to be thankful for this year.
We just saw so many things to be thankful for, like art making and music and dance. Just so the folks watching know, we also have a Christmas tree here, or a holiday tree here at the Art Museum, donated by the University of Wyoming President's Office. So if you'd like to come take a photo, I know, Santa, we couldn't take photos with you this year, but you can come take a photo with this beautiful tree until December 18th.
How fun.
Let's see.
Be a good time. Everyone should try to get up there.
Caroline, do you want to chime in on what you would like for Christmas? I saw you posted in the chat and Santa chatted back.
How have you been this year, Katie? Have you been good?
I've been pretty good, pretty grateful to all the folks that I am friends with and family with, and the art museum and the university and everybody. Lots to be grateful for. And I think today's been a good reminder of that for me.
And it's wonderful that we have all the stuff, all the technology we have, so we can still see each other.
Yep, that's right. You're all the way up in the North Pole, and I can't believe it. Although it looks like you're behind the art museum in the summertime. Do you travel in the summertime, Santa?
Oh, you have to get out a little bit. Yeah, I can't stay up there all the time. Santa needs a little warm weather too every now and then.
It's true. Well, I
have to scout out the territory, because it makes the Christmas Eve ride even better, because you know the landscape.
That's true. You got to
Thank
scout
God for
it out.
GPS. It's much easier than it used to be.
Oh, Carolyn says that she would like to have a Candy Crush doll.
Oh yes, that's a very popular one this year.
Awesome. Tammy.
Caroline, keep being good, and we'll see what happens on Christmas Eve.
That's right. Tammy, do you have a special request for Santa Claus or anyone else in the audience? Do any of our education team have a special request?
Some people might not agree with me, but I would really like some snow.
Thank you for your honesty, Jen.
see what we can make happen. I get close to being able to make the weather happen, but sometimes that's out of Santa's control.
That's true. Does make the sleigh go faster, right?
Oh, yes.
Good deal. Well, my wish is that people support each other like they have been doing, and that health and happiness come to all, and we get a vaccine. Rachel's wish was for a vaccine also, so that we can join together in person for the 29th annual Happy Holidays Laramie.
Hopefully next year, this will be the last time we have to do this.
But it was so great that you could join us. Thank you, Santa. Again,
Oh,
thank you
wouldn't
to
miss
all
it.
of our presenters, our artists. If you missed anything, join it on the live stream. And we'll see you next year for all of this. Thanks, Santa.
Ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas.
All right. Bye, everyone. Take care. Happy holidays.
Merry Christmas.